stadium that was built by Hard Rock. My name is Tom Orr. His name is Tony Gerdeman. Hey, that's the national championship logo painted right on the field. That's weird. Wonder what's going to happen here later tonight. Tony, I assume this is your first time in the stadium, as it is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Have any trouble finding the place?
Well, once you get out to the middle of nowhere, then you can see it. So if you just leave the city of Miami and you head in the proper direction, eventually you'll see this structure out in the middle of not a desert. It's not Arizona, but you will eventually find it. There's a Walmart nearby. It has everything you could need.
It's got the real cotton bolt vibes in that way. This is, for those who don't know, this is the same stadium that has been here that the Dolphins have played at since, I don't know, the late 80s, early 90s. It was Joe Robbie Stadium when they first built it, and then it was Pro Player Stadium, and then it's been like 4 other things, and now it's Hard Rock Stadium. This is where the Miami Dolphins play. It's where the Florida Marlins used to play when they first started. It's where the Miami Hurricanes play now. Driving out here, all of a sudden I had a little bit more sympathy for Miami fans because it is a haul from Coral Gables, which is where the University of Miami campus is, to here. That's south of Miami. We were like probably 15, 20 minutes north of there, and it took us 25, 30 minutes to get here. So it's like, all right, I'm a little more sympathetic to the Miami Stadium attendance issues than I was before.
It would be like if Ohio State played on the north side of Delaware, or perhaps even Marion.
Now, I don't think that would necessarily keep Ohio State fans from attending games, but here we are. So yes, so here we, and speaking of here we are. We'll wait a little bit. We'll go through a little bit of pregame stuff. We'll answer some questions, and then I will probably, when we're wrapping up, pop this off the tripod and just walk you around a little bit, show you some stuff around the stadium, just so you can kind of get a sense for the place. One thing that's kind of interesting, it feels like we're in an enclosed stadium, kind of. There's a roof over our heads right now, but then there's also a hole in the middle of the roof. It's a little like the old Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Irving, Texas, before they moved to Arlington, where there's a big hole in the roof. So it's nice. You're not in a dome. You get the outside feel, but also if it starts raining, you're not going to get rained on, which is nice. We were asked earlier in the week about the wind in here. My feeling was probably that it wasn't going to be a huge issue in here. There's a little breeze, but because you've got that roof over your head, there's not that much. You don't get the wind like whipping over right the edge of the stadium like you would at Ohio Stadium. The flags on the goalposts are like laying there, and there's a little light breeze. It's coming from that way. This is the same direction you're going to look at on TV. So if you go from right to left on your TV, that's the way the wind is probably going to be blowing during the game. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a super big factor.
It's actually a nice breeze.
It is a very nice breeze.
Yeah.
One other interesting thing is they have a bunch of these seats blocked off. They have just they're banded with Hard Rock Stadium seat covers or something to hold them closed. So it's like there's 5 seats together there, 2 seats together there, 2 seats together there.
Season ticket holders?
Well, it's probably they sold tickets just to individual groups, and it seems like not. There's plenty of distancing going on here, so that's probably a good thing. This section has just rows of 2 seats up the middle, all the way up the middle. So it will have definitely not a full house by any means, but more than Ohio State has played in front of all year. I think they're talking about 16,000, something like that.
I don't know.
We had a question in there earlier from I think it was Virginia, who asked about the mix of Ohio State and Alabama fans, and the honest answer is I don't have a clue. We did not stay way downtown by the where a lot of the fans stayed, so we didn't see a ton of fans around. And this is not like a normal year where you have a sense that, hey, just driving around, looking around LA, all you see is Ohio State fans. You don't see any Washington fans. We don't have any sense for that. I would guess it's going to be 50-50-ish.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I don't know if we won't be able to see the section we're under. You will be, but
yeah.
I will say, on the flight to Columbus, from Columbus to Baltimore, our first leg, more Ohio State fans than Alabama fans.
Well, yeah, that's true. That was a big surprise. But yeah, there are going to be Ohio State fans here. The Sugar Bowl was very strange. We were down in New Orleans. We're walking on Bourbon Street, and it's like number one, there's no one here. Number two, the people who are here are not wearing old Andy Katzenmoyer jerseys or old Ohio State jackets. It's all like there were no Ohio State fans there. Here, we have seen Ohio State fans around town. We've seen Alabama fans around town, but really not a representative sample to be able to give you a good idea like what the crowd mix is going to be tonight. That eliminates whatever the crowd mix is. It's not going to be loud enough. You know, there's a bunch of stuff you don't have to think about this year. You don't have to think about crowd noise this year. You don't have to, third down is not going to be rocking like, when you have a really pro Ohio State crowd at a bowl game like they often do. It can be a hard thing for the opposing team.
Yeah.
I think Alabama opponents run into that as well because Alabama travels pretty well. Whatever the mix is tonight, if it's 8,000 and 8,000 people can get loud, but they're not getting loud.
Right.
So.
And we're so accustomed to not hearing crowd. Even hearing 16,000 is going to be, it'll be something to us. It may not be anything to the guys playing.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the Big Ten championship game, that was the first time there were, I think, there was a decent number of people out there just in terms of, Ohio State fans and parents. They were pretty loud you heard them booing Kevin Warren when they introduced Kevin Warren. If Ohio State wins tonight, there are 8 people on that podium. Kevin Warren is one of them. He's going to get introduced. He will probably be asked to say a few words. If Ohio State wins, boy, that'll be an interesting reception for him.
If people didn't have a reason to root for Ohio State before, now you do.
Weather, I mean, someone said that Dan Patrick was saying it was going to be incredibly windy or rainy or something. The weather's fine. Like it's
Dan Patrick this week.
Yes, Dan Patrick has not covered himself in glory for the most part for about the last 6 months. But yeah, the weather's fine. No rain in the forecast. It's overcast. It's a little overcast. You can see a little bit of blue sky. I'll tilt it up
Florida,
and see.
Right?
You can see some clouds. I mean, there's a little blue right up there. It's just kind of, it's fine. It's
What's
not
the old dual Doppler say?
I just looked at the little weather app forecast, and there was a lot of, partly cloudy, kind of mostly cloudy, no rain, no snow, no crazy winds, so should not be a big issue. I have not gotten to go down on the field. There were questions earlier in the week about the field, and will the field be slippery? We are the only people who are down on the field are network TV people and like the Associated Press photographers and USA Today photographers, like wire service photographers, not local photographers. So I will not be able to go down on the field and move my feet around like I did last year at the Fiesta Bowl to see if the grass is slippery. I don't get the sense it should be. It hasn't rained here for a few days. They have, the question is always, you see that stripe down the middle of the field there. That is new turf. They replaced that turf. Now, sometimes that can be slippery. Sometimes it can get torn up because it hasn't rooted all the way. I don't know. I don't know quite what to expect from that piece of turf. That's something to watch. It's not the whole field. It's just, you see that dark stripe in the middle of the field. That is, hey, it's the end of football season. The turf is kind of worn out there. We want to replace it so it looks good on TV. But you don't quite know what to expect out of the footing there. That's one of those like natural grass end of the season. You just kind of have to keep an eye on it because you don't know. I don't know that there's anyone in particular that favors. I mean, both teams have pretty explosive playmakers and shifty guys out in space.
So it's like when you buy 2 new tires, they put them on the rear instead of the front. Depending on whether you're rear wheel or front wheel, you still got to break them in a little, break in that turf.
Yeah. So that's just one little thing to watch. Let me give you a little look around the stadium real quick. You're going to have we are on the same side as where the TV cameras are. So the TV cameras are actually right down there. You can see them right there. Those are the network TV cameras that'll be showing you the games. And then you can look around here. That's the Alabama end zone. It's going to be on your left on TV, and then the Ohio State end zone on the right on your TV. So that's what you'll be looking at during the game. So we'll get to questions in just a few minutes because I have seen a whole bunch of them. For those who have not been listening to our many pregame shows this week, I picked Alabama to win 38-35. I think this feels like it's going to be a 60-minute game. This does not feel like one of these teams is way better than the other. I would be very surprised if this was, last week or a week and a half ago in New Orleans, that game was over at halftime. I mean, it was 35-14, and it was like, it doesn't feel that close. And
so was the Rose Bowl.
So was the Rose Bowl, exactly. This seems like these are the two best teams in the country. That There's not much question. You don't see Texas A&M fans and Florida fans and Georgia fans and Oklahoma fans complaining anymore. This is pretty clearly the two best teams in the country at this point. What decides the game tonight?
Well, Tom, I think like always, it's going to be the trenches. It's going to be who controls the line of scrimmage, which defensive line wins out, which offensive line wins out, and Ohio State had the advantage in both realms last week. So did Alabama. I think it's much more even this time, and we talk about how the skill is similar. I think the trenches are as well. I don't think there's one group that is clearly better than the other. Against Clemson, we both agreed that Ohio State had the clear advantage both sides. Here, I'm feeling like Ohio State's offensive line probably has the advantage, more so than Alabama. The Alabama offensive line maybe having more of an advantage than the Ohio State defensive line. And so then it's basically which defensive line plays better.
Right. And someone said Alabama has the advantage at running back and wide receiver. That's kind of not the way to look at it. It's really one team's offensive line versus the other team's offensive line. One team's running backs versus the other team's like linebackers, wide receivers versus the other team's cornerbacks. Like that. That's more of a way to look at it. Running backs and tight ends maybe versus linebackers. Linebackers are one of the areas that I look at with Alabama, and it's like Alabama, the threshold of what is a typical Alabama defense is so high that when it's like, yeah, they're like they're pretty good, but they're not there. It's like, oh man, what's wrong with Alabama? And this is an Alabama defense that's not perfect, but I mean, they're good. They've got a pretty good defensive line. They've got pretty good corners, it seems like, for the most part. But the linebackers are maybe a little bit vulnerable. The safeties are maybe a little bit vulnerable. This does seem like a team that Ohio State's going to be able to move the ball against.
I don't think there's any area of the Alabama defense where Ohio State can't get things. Mm-hmm. I think they can take advantage of the linebackers, whether throwing the ball or running the ball. I think the corners, and you have to include the safeties as well when you're talking about defending Ohio State's three receivers and then the tight ends as well. The Ohio State passing game, I think, can do quite a bit and have success, provided, and it's not just Nick Petit-Frere and Thayer Munford at tackles. We'll see what comes inside. It's a 3-4 defense for the most part from Alabama, so they have a lot of interior pass rushing as well, and then some outside linebackers coming around the edges, and how well do the tackles hold up against that, against some of the speed that Alabama will bring on the edges, and then what kind of blitzes do we see? What kind of blitzes don't Justin Fields see? Like, does he see them or not? And then just executing, catching the ball. And I think as long as you're not hurting yourself, there are going to be enough opportunities to hurt Alabama.
Well, and last game felt like that was the big referendum on Justin Fields against Clemson. Coming off that not super spectacular performance against Northwestern. And okay, Chris Olave's back. Will that be enough against will he be able to see through what Brent Venables is doing? And Ohio State Ryan Day put him in a spot where he didn't have to see through it because Clemson couldn't get lined up half the time. Mm-hmm. And so that was not nearly the challenge. So it felt like he very much passed the referendum game in New Orleans. Does this become the new referendum game? I don't see him having a terrible game. I don't see him lighting up Alabama necessarily the way he lit up Clemson. And it's just kind of like, where in the middle there does he land? And that may be what decides, does Ohio State score enough touchdowns instead of, failing to convert in the red zone? Do they do that enough to win the game?
I think an average Justin Fields game can win this. An average being basically 320 total yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns, and 1 turnover. To me, that's pretty good, because that's also telling me, like, you assume the run is going to be good enough to where they will be doing that. And now you're approaching 500 yards of total offense. That's usually a winning number. Tonight, it's probably not going to be.
Yeah.
Both teams will probably be over that or close to that 500-yard mark. I think it may be as much a referendum or a statement about Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson as game planners and play callers, because they put Brent Venables in a box, closed
Yeah.
the lid, and threw it in
Yeah.
the river.
Yeah. They rolled him up in a carpet.
Yeah,
And
and so now they're facing Nick Saban, arguably the greatest college football coach of all time, one of the great defensive minds of all time. And if Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson do that again,
Yeah.
they're at the top.
yeah, this is a little bit of a statement game for Ohio State, because I think they put in sort of an exclamation point on the season by beating Clemson, because there was a lot of people with some justification who viewed college football as a Alabama and Clemson, and then everyone else is a layer or two below. Okay, Clemson just got their faces kicked in, so Clemson is no longer up there.
Yep.
If Ohio State is competitive in this game, I think Ohio State is at that level, right in that Alabama conversation. If Ohio State wins this game, Ohio State, that will be their third national championship since 2002. Alabama's won, 5? At that point, it's not crazy to say, okay, they're right on that same basic level. If it's 6-2, like, okay, this is Nick Saban's world,
Right.
we're all living
Yeah.
in it.
And we have been, but eventually
Yeah.
the rulership has to pass.
Right. Yeah, and Nick Saban, this doesn't feel like that long ago, but it has been a couple of years since Nick Saban has won a national championship. They haven't won since 2017. And they got killed 2 years ago in Santa Clara. I mean, they got killed in a way that Ohio State has not lost a game since the
Yeah.
Clemson game, probably in 2016 in the playoffs. So, this is one of those kind of big picture games where this sort of shapes the narrative around college football for a while. And, you will absolutely have the people who say, well, if Ohio State wins, well, I mean, it wasn't you kind of have to put an asterisk on the season. No one's going to put an asterisk on this if Alabama wins tonight, so I'm not
Right.
sure why you would, this is not a, Villanova making a run to the final in the championship game. This is not an 8 seed making the NCAA tournament final. This is, one of the acknowledged 3 best teams in college football getting to the point where, okay, yes, they are one of the 3 best teams in college football, and that conversation is probably 3.
I wonder if there will be some segment of the population, some segment of the ill-informed population that will view Ohio State kind of like LSU with Joe Burrow, where now that Justin Fields is gone, you're going to come back to earth. But the thing is, Tom, Ohio State's coming back to earth is still a pretty high pedestal, and they will be able to, they have recruited. They're going to be replacing a lot of guys next year, but so is Alabama, so is Clemson,
Right.
so is everybody. So, like, you're starting over, but you're still starting over on the same foot with everybody else and above many of them.
Right, and this is an Ohio State team that's losing a lot of guys after this year, and we'll find out exactly how many in the next week or so. But it's probably Justin Fields, it's probably Trey Sermon, it's probably Chris Olave, it's probably Luke Farrell, Wyatt Davis, maybe Josh Myers, Thayer Munford. Jonathan Cooper, Justin Hilliard, maybe some of the.
Somebody asked if we could see Kevin Warren over on ESPN, and yes, we can.
Oh yeah, there's Kevin Warren over there.
Should
Yeah,
we-
I'll spin you over there so you can see Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren is right. Let's see.
Who that man?
He is right about there. He's right up there on one of those balconies there. That's where the ESPN broadcast is, in the corner of the stadium. So, getting a lot of questions about who's out tonight for the Buckeyes.
That's great questions, all great
We'll
questions.
find out together. They will release the availability report about 7 p.m. or so. It's usually an hour-ish before the start of the game. We'll have the official verdict on that from Ohio State. I think we have a million questions to get through, so let's start going through these. Wow, we have a lot of questions. Yeah, Tyler says it's like Pitt and Heinz Field. The attendance issues may be due to other factors. Yes, there's that. There's that.
It might just be the whole ACC thing.
It might. The Go ACC vibe is pretty strong. Herb Street cliche drinking game suggestions. Pin their ears back. What else?
Look in their eyes.
Look in their eyes is a good one. Attacking aggressive mentality is a good one. Brent Venables is a good one. Yes, as Jared suggests. Yeah, Akeem says the energy, vibe, and weather is right. Just perfect for game weather. It is really nice. It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is not hot. Like there was a lot of, there was a lot of talk about, will Ohio State be able to handle the humidity? I guess it's kind of humid, but it's not like swampy like it would be here in the summertime. And, humid in 70, as long as you've been hydrating throughout the day, it's not stifling in here. I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. Maybe you see guys cramp. That's possible, but I don't think you're going to have major issues.
Plus,
with
they've
that.
been hydrating for the past 2 days to gear up for this.
Sure. DK says if OSU wins, will Bama still claim the title?
Well, I think you have
if
to.
history is any indication, they claimed 2017 when UCF won it. So
Wouldn't
I don't know.
they claim the 13-game title or the 12-game title or the double-digit game title?
Well, that's like LSU in 2007, where they were undefeated in regulation because they lost twice, but it was in overtime. Who's starting at left guard?
All right, Tom, let's throw it out there. Who do we think? I'm going to go Matt Jones.
I think they're going to go to. I think there's a very, very, very good argument to have Matt Jones start. I really would like to know, in terms of answering that question, I would love to know, when did Harry Miller get back to practice? Because I think there's an argument to be made. Okay, if Harry Miller has been back at practice since January 4th, then maybe he's still your starter. If he got back to practice on January 9th, you're probably starting Matt Jones. I think there's a pretty decent chance they're going to have Matt Jones be the starter. Hayden says, wish they played at Jerry's World because I think they have more fans there. I think there's about the same number of fans as there were in the Rose Bowl in Texas, where I think about 16,000 is the number that I've heard. It's about right now. The get-in price for this, the get-in price as of when we were looking around lunchtime today was about $1,500. The average ticket price was somewhere in the 3,000s. This is going to be an exceptionally tough ticket to get because I think a lot of people came down here figuring that ticket prices would drop as they normally do, and they haven't. They have kind of been steady and maybe even gone up a little bit. We're not outside the stadium. Like, maybe this is one of those things where you can pull in and you can get a cheaper ticket outside. But
yeah, I'm looking. I don't know that there's any really bad seats.
No, this is a pretty. It is not an enormous stadium. Just
right.
Like from here to you're further back from the field than you are at Ohio Stadium, but it's not super high. It's high, but it's not super high.
We are 30 rows from the top.
Yeah, maybe 30 rows from the top. We are in row 10 of the 300 level, which is the upper deck here, and it's about 20 rows from the top of the stadium, and it's a good view. This reminds me a little bit of Sun Devil Stadium, watching one of the Fiesta Bowls that Ohio State played there in 2005 when they played Notre Dame. Same thing, where you're back from the field a little bit, but you're not that far, and there's not an overhang here like there is at Ohio Stadium where you get those B deck seats that are underneath. So you're set back from the field a little more. It's kind of high, but. Yeah, it's not too bad. Tom says, Tom, sell your press pass and cash in. Who needs pictures? I'm already in. I've already used it. Sorry. Where was this brilliant idea before? Yeah, this was this is not the easiest place to be in tonight. But there are fans, so there should be a fun thing. Fun evening. DK says, when did OSU last win in Florida? That's a good question. They lost 1 million Florida Bowl games under John Cooper. They lost the one Citrus Bowl the one Gator Bowl under.
It's been a long time,
under
right?
Fickle. They haven't played a road game. Did they? No, they lost They lost in this stadium in 2011 under Fickle. It might be the Orange Bowl against Colorado in the 1977 season. That's the first one that pops to mind. Oh, you know what? They won a Citrus Bowl they beat BYU in a Citrus Bowl in like 1982, 1983, 1985, somewhere in that range. But it's been a while. And that's the overlap of, the meaningfulness of the John Cooper era results and the current results. There's been some differences there in terms of end of season games.
I still claim the 1996 Citrus Bowl from the 95 season against Tennessee.
Due to their
cheating
cleats?
Volunteers and their cheating cleats, yes.
Due to their cleats, yes.
So if Bama can claim stuff, I will claim this for Ohio State.
Jeff asked about the field conditions. We have not been down there. We don't have access to the field due to the increased protocols for this year. There's no reason to think it's going to be slick. We talked earlier about the little stripe in the middle of the field, that dark stripe right there. That's new turf. They put that in. That is, sort of the end of the season. The field's all chewed up, and it's chewed up between the hash marks because that's where the majority of the action is. This is mostly an NFL stadium. So they replaced that turf to make it look a little nicer on TV and not be so chewed up. But, how is that turf going to be in terms of, it has the grass rooted, all of that kind of stuff? Is it trays? I don't know what the field situation is here, but it's if you're looking for something to worry about, that's something to keep an eye on at least. This is Cody with an interesting one. He wants Ohio State to win so badly, not just because it's OSU, but to complete this crazy story from no season to a title season. And that is a crazy story.
Yeah.
That you go back and listen to some of our podcasts from mid-August or so. Buckeye Weekly episodes, Morning Scoop episodes from August, 12th, August 15th, August 20th. Some of those where the season's over. All these other leagues are playing, and we're like, why is this possible for one group to play and not another group to play? It always seemed so strange. And the fact that the Big Ten changed their mind and then was able to have a relatively successful season indicates, yes, it was in fact possible, even though you were being told that it was not impossible. So not possible. So
it was very much possible.
It was very much possible.
It wasn't easy, but it happened.
Let's see, this is Kevin Warren. I don't know if he's still out there. Lots of questions about who's out tonight. The answer is 7 o'clock tonight. We will find out.
We will all find out. Can't wait.
Sorry about my cough. I'm talking a lot in a mask. Have been talking a lot in a mask all night, all day, all week. So that's... I hear sirens. This is too early probably for it to be a team, would be my guess, but we'll see. There should be... teams usually get here about 2 hours. Teams are usually here about 2 hours before the game, give or take. So this should be, what time is it? 4:30 right now? This would be very, very early.
4:43.
4:43. So yes, this would be extremely early for the teams. What do you think of the stadium? Yakov wants to know, compared to Jerry World or State Farm in Arizona.
I love Jerry World. It's an entire city unto itself. This is fine. I mean, I'm not Dolphins colors like the turquoise. I mean, it's a bit the teal. It's a bit much. It's okay. Looked like it was renovated inside the concourses and stuff like that. So it's fine.
Yeah, the stadium is. When it was Joe Robbie Stadium, when the Dolphins moved here from the Orange Bowl in the 87, 88, I think, something in that range. This has been renovated a few times since then. The Florida Marlins, when they first started playing, were playing here. That has been a number of years now since they've moved out of here. But it is. I am a sucker for outdoor football. I do not care for indoor football. I do not care for. I have Jerry World is fine. You go there once, and then the novelty has worn off.
It's shiny to me.
It's shiny. It's fine. I just all right. We've been there. We have seen the big TV, and
I like big TV.
Yeah, it's fine. You're watching the game at Jerry World, and your eyes just keep drifting up to the TV. It's they're right there. I'm paying a lot of money for to.
Well, they also have the dugout sections that are field level.
Yeah.
That you can't actually see anything because the players are in the way. So you are then able to sit up a level above that. So it's pretty cool.
Rob wants to know, if Urban takes an NFL job, would he target any OSU staff to take Mickey Marotti, or would he carefully avoid that? And I think the two people to watch would be Mickey Marotti, who's the strength and conditioning guy, Mark Pantoni, who's the personnel guy. My sense is that he won't.
What about his son-in-law?
Corey Dennis is a real possibility. OSU quarterback coach who is married to Urban's daughter. That's a possibility. Pantoni and Marotti, I don't know if he wants to mess with Ryan Day like that. It's possible, but that's a great question for Mark Givler, Bill Green. That's a
ask
great.
Kirk next time he's live.
Yeah, ask Kirk. Go on our Ask the Insiders board at BuckeyeScoop.com
Yes.
and tag Mark Givler, Bill Green, and Kirk Barton in that, and ask them that, because that is a...
It has been asked several times and also answered several times throughout the weeks, but feel free to ask again and see if the answer continues.
Yakov says, do you think it's silly that a game played in Texas was called the Rose Bowl? I mean, there's the Yellow Rose of
Right,
Texas
exactly.
song. Like, yeah,
Texas has roses.
they do have roses. So, yeah, they had, Hayden says at some of the Cowboys games this year, they had upwards of 30,000 people in attendance, but that's not what they did for the Rose Bowl. Like, the college football is not, just because they did it for Cowboys games doesn't mean they're doing it for college games. They have had people in attendance at Colts games a bunch this year, and the Big Ten had no one other than families there. It is just the, it's up to the governing body. Jason said, it's the Orange Bowl. They played there before, yes. The question that I think we were answering was, have they won here before? And yes, and they did. Tom Tony. Have to have someone willing to buy. Yakov says 50-50 OSU Alabama fans. We were asking about that. Does that, we don't really know, is I think the short answer. We haven't seen a ton of people. That's something that we'll figure out pretty quickly during the pregame. I think there's a decent chance that it is basically 50-50 because each school gets an allotment of, 50%, give or take, of the tickets. So there was a report that we heard, I don't know if we've reported this yet, but that they may have screwed up and put both teams' families on the same side of the stadium. That'll be interesting to see when people actually get in. That was something that had been sort of bandied about last night, and there was that'll be real interesting because that could be quite a scene if that's how that's.
I'm interested to see if Ohio State fans get out-traveled. And granted, this isn't a typical year, but with a hard ticket, Ohio State fans tend not to care. They don't travel.
Right.
But
Well,
Alabama,
Alabama too. The Sugar Bowl in 2015, was that 50-50, something like that? Mason wants to know if Dan Marino will be there. No, well, not yet. Not yet is the answer. Will Dan Marino be there? That is a good question. If he is, will he have the laces out? There's the real question. Jason wants to know if the team is at the stadium yet. No, the team is generally here a little more than 2 hours before the game. Generally what happens is they come out about 2 hours before the game. You'll see they'll walk out into the stadium, come out, walk around a little bit, look around, all wearing their suits or whatever, go back in, get dressed in at least kind of, shells, and then come out and start warming up a little bit. The specialists always come out in full uniform. Whenever we have photos before a game, it's always like Drew Chrisman or Bradley Robinson. Here's what they're wearing tonight, the full uniform. Let's see. Jack Schumacher wants to know, do we ever hang out with the other Buckeye podcast personalities, i.e. Letterman Row, 11 Warriors, etc.? Yes, we do.
This year's been difficult.
This year's been a little different, and this trip has been different from the New Orleans trip. We hung out with a bunch of guys from other sites. It is a very strange dynamic to be covering a team because you're traveling with the competition all the time. So we're quite friendly with pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
But there's like a group of us that will go and hang out from different sites, and it's just it's like you're all going, and all these competitive places are going on a business trip together. So it's like you end up just hanging out with people, but yeah, there's not there is not a lot of bad blood on the OSU beat. It's
usually just internal from inside the site.
This is why I'm going to sell you. Yakov wants to know if Kevin Warren feels a bit embarrassed or redeemed. I don't know what the level of self-reflection is there.
I'm going to guess redeemed because embarrassment might not be part of his DNA. I don't know.
With as many awards as he has on his wall, what does he have to be embarrassed about? Vedranya wants to know, what is your unexpected MVP if Ohio State wins? So let's say we're gonna rule out Justin Fields, Trey Sermon, Garrett Wilson.
No, you can't rule out Garrett Wilson. He's 18-1 odds.
Okay.
So that is my pick, is Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson's a good one. Is Chris Olave?
He's also 18-1. But no, I wouldn't. I think him being the number one receiver, you can't use him.
Short.
So
yeah, I mean,
you're gonna have to go somebody other than what I went with.
Does one of the defensive linemen go off and have 5 sacks? Does someone have?
How about Jonathan Cooper?
Does Sean Wade have 2 pick sixes? Something like that. Maybe.
C.J. Stroud.
Garrett Wilson's a good one. because maybe you get a punt return in there. It's like something unusual. It takes, you're not going to, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns is not going to do it as a wide receiver.
5 catches and 3 touchdowns for Jeremy Ruckert.
Yeah, I mean, maybe,
even if it's 60 yards.
Maybe if it's 3 touchdowns, if it's 2, if it's 2 late touchdowns, both from Jeremy Ruckert and, but I mean, I think you just have to have. It's going to be very hard for a receiver to win it without it being Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is going to have a lot more.
True.
A lot of.
Justin Hilliard.
A lot of crazy names getting thrown around in the chat as far as guys who are out. I don't think you're going to have anyone crazy out of left field.
Right.
I think I would not. I would not get panicked if you have not been hearing names. I would not get too panicked about last-minute crazy rumors. Jason wants to know, what do you think might have affected the sudden 3-point spread swing?
But did it? I mean, it was 7.5, and now it's 9. Is what?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Over the past few days, I don't know if
unless something else jumped. Right. I don't know. I have not heard. I have not heard anything new in the last 24 hours that would have anything close to that. Yakov wants to know, any Herb Street sighting. I did not see Herb Street. I don't know. I assume he's here. I assume he's not on Corona detail.
You got David Pollock and Joey Galloway.
I was over there before. It's Desmond Howard, Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollock, and Marty Smith was over in the far seat before. I don't know who's in there now. That does not look like Marty Smith anymore, but we'll see. Line for the game is still at +8. I don't think that there's anything. I mean, Jason, I don't think the line was ever 6. I think the line opened at 7.
Right.
It may be 8 now. Joshua wants to know how many fans are allowed today, and do you think it'll play a role? I think it's somewhere about 16,000, and it's about, it's probably about 50-50 from there. And
even if it was 12,000 to 4,000, I mean, is that
right?
really
You're not going to have. It's not going to be like a crazy crowd noise thing. Third down should not be impacted. None of that stuff. Jordan wants to know, have you guys ever let superstition aid you in your picks? Tony, how are you doing in your Ohio State college football playoff picks all time?
It's not about superstition. I don't do superstition. I am, however, 0 for 5 in picking Ohio State in the playoffs since the playoffs started. Today, because I believe Alabama is the better team, clearly, I am picking Alabama to win by 3. And by the end of the night, who knows, I may now be 1 and 5.
I'm also have Alabama, and it's not a superstition thing. This is a very close game. Alabama may have some slight edges in a few places. Mason says Ryan Day better not go to the Eagles. I don't know what would make Ryan Day want to go to the Eagles. Like I think Ryan Day has a pretty darn good thing going on right now. I'm not sure why he would. I'm not sure why he would. Feel compelled to leave. Deuces Wild said, should I eat chicken parm tonight? That's only if you're at a Cuban place. I hear that's the thing to do at a Cuban place.
Cuban chicken parm was fantastic last night. Thank you for asking. And yes, if you have the opportunity, try Cuban chicken parm.
Yasaka says, tired of Buckeye analysts not picking the Buckeyes to win the game. I mean, we pick who we think is going to win. The staff picks at Ohio State at Buckeye Scoop was 3-3, 4-3, something like that. I mean, it was a pretty tightly divided thing. We can stand here and tell you exactly what you want to hear all the time, and that's fine. But it's not real instructive. That's we're here to tell you what we think. That's what we think, and we are not right. I picked Clemson to beat Ohio State last week. I was extremely not right about that.
Good job, Tom.
Good job, me. Marcus says Bama has more class than the Flying Dabos. Ohio State fans still not super high on Dabo Swinney. Adam wants to know how many tight end touchdowns and who. I'll go with 1 for Rucker. If it's I mean 2 would be surprising again, but
if I go with the over under of 0.5, you're going over. If I go 1.5, do you think about it more?
I think about it, but I think they're gonna score 5-6 touchdowns. One of them is going to be to a tight end, because I think that's one of the areas where they have an advantage, because those Alabama linebackers
helps in the red zone.
You can get them at some point. Yasaka says OSU 41, Crimson Tide 37. I mean, you're picking Ohio State to score 1 more touchdown and basically the exact same score that we did. So that's not exactly crazy. Rob wants to know if pared down versions of bands were allowed to travel. I think the SEC had bands at their regular season games. No, we have not seen so far. No bands, no cheerleaders, no mascots. I think that's my expectation is none of any of that, because all the bodies you have in this stadium are seats you can't sell. And I think everyone is hurting for revenue enough that it's like they would rather sell someone a seat for $2,500 than have a trumpet player sitting in it for free.
Do you think if Brutus was here and the elephant, which I believe his name is
Al,
Clyde,
would
the people under the heads, would they need masks on?
I would imagine it is probably brutal to breathe in those mascot costumes anyway, let alone with a. Joshua wants to know if this is where he watches the game. No, we are not. We are not live streaming this on Twitch. You can probably find this on your local cable operator. Hayden wants to know. Hayden's exact question is: are we in red or white tonight? Well, there are two teams. I'm not sure who we is because we have fans from both teams on this stream. Alabama's going to be in their crimson, their traditional home uniforms. Ohio State will be in the road whites that they wore against Clemson.
Come on, Tom, we got to answer that one.
OG Buckeye says, who is your least favorite person from another site? Well, Tony used to write for another site, so can I count him? No? Is that not? No?
So did you, Tom, so there we go.
There we go.
I hate you so much.
You're my chief enemy. See what I did there? Hey! Joshua says, who has a bigger game, Devontae or Sermon?
Well, if you tell me whoever it is, does that tell you, like, pretty good confidence of what the game...
Probably, yeah. I mean, and what does better game mean? Does better game mean more yards, more touchdowns? I mean, if you tell me that Trey Sermon has a better game than Devontae Smith, I feel like that tells me Ohio State wins. If you tell me Devontae Smith has a substantially better game than Trey Sermon, I feel like that tells me Alabama wins. But I just don't have a...
If Devontae Smith goes for like 160 yards but no scores, I think Trey Sermon with 120 yards and 2 or 3 scores, that's a better game.
That's probably a better game. Yeah.
And if you keep Devontae Smith out of the end zone, I like Ohio State's chances.
Yeah, Michael Scarborough says Zero will have a monster game. That'd be Jonathan Cooper, senior defensive end. That would be a really heartwarming end to Jonathan Cooper's time as a Buckeye. He's gone through a bunch of stuff. We talked to Mark Givler on the pregame live stream we did this morning from our hotel. He has known Jonathan Cooper for a million years. Shared a pretty cool story about him and all of that. I think he's that's one of those guys who's pretty easy to root for. There are a few of them. I mean, I wrote about Justin Hilliard on Sunday. You can find that at BuckeyeScoop.com. His story, his crazy story, and the long and winding road that took him from committing to the Buckeyes in July of 2014 here. Michael wants to know if LeBron will be in attendance. I haven't heard. I don't have a clue if the Lakers are home or away or what. LeBron did send Beats headphones to all of the Buckeyes. I saw that on the Ohio State social media account.
How many pairs of Beats headphones do you think the average Buckeye... How many pairs do you think Justin Hilliard has? 11?
Well, Justin Hilliard, yeah. Justin Hilliard's original gift from LeBron was one of those like old iPods with the wheels, I think. So yeah,
here's your Zune.
Yeah, worker. Oh man, that's some disrespect. Zune. Worker B says Wade unexpected MVP. I mean, it's not crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not crazy.
If he shuts down Devontae Smith or keeps him to like 70 yards.
Yeah.
Credit him.
Anthony says, do you think it will rain at the game because it's cloudy? It is cloudy. There is no rain in the forecast. As of the last time I looked, I honestly didn't look today.
Oh,
there was no rain in the forecast. You can pull up the radar right now if you'd like to. But the last time I looked, there was no rain in the forecast the whole time we were down here.
I think 2% at 9 p.m.
Okay, 2%. So you're telling me there's a chance. Boy, great point from our buddy Ken. If you like this video, be sure to take a second to click the like button and then also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button because we're going to be doing one of these after the game, win, lose, or draw. Well, hopefully not draw because that would be a long game.
Oh,
win or lose for Ohio State, we are here after the game as well for a post-game recap of everything we saw, everything we heard during post-game interviews. And again, to answer your questions, scroll through all your comments, kind of give you our thoughts on all the things that we saw, all the things we heard. So that will be after the game. I don't have a clue what time that is. I think last week we started sometime around 2 a.m. Eastern. Like,
yeah.
Put a pot of coffee on and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you'll get a notification that pops up when we do go live later on tonight. Yakov wants to know any news if the NCAA will allow for expanded rosters, being that this year didn't count for eligibility. I think that they probably will.
They are.
Yeah.
They've already talked to the teams about it, where basically, yeah, I don't know, because I asked Ryan Day about it. He's like, yeah, it's really complicated. Mark Cantoni talked to me for about 2 hours about it, but it won't affect Ohio State because they'll be right at the 85. But basically, everybody's going to be assigned, like, if you played this year, you still get your full allotment. So I don't know what it's going to look like, whether you're not going to be given you won't have more than the 85. It'll just be like 85 plus these 8.
Yeah.
You can't keep adding to that. It'll have to get down eventually.
Yeah, and the scholarship math is going to get very, very complicated because I think that transfer portal is going to be super, super, super active. So you're going to have guys going out, guys coming in. That's going to be a tricky thing to manage from this team's perspective because sometimes you get guys transferring that's like, I didn't see that one coming, and did the team see that one coming, and trying to manage that number. Ohio State has been generally very cognizant of being under that number and not getting to August with still some questions. You've got potential medical hardship scholarship, medical hardship retirement guys. There's a million elements to that. We'll have time.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
We will get that. Spunky wants to know, will Saban's daughter be there? Kristen Saban, she
Probably.
tweeted. Yeah, I'm going to guess she's here. She, of course, earlier in the week tweeted that, Ohio State was just trying to duck Alabama. They talk of possibly trying to postpone it a game. It is, postpone the game because they were trying to get Fields healthy. I don't think that was even remotely the concern there. Yakov wants to know, has the run to the title game been good for business, advertising, and subscriptions? We've gotten a whole bunch of traffic on our YouTube channel, which is nice. And there has been a tremendous amount of interest at BuckeyeScoop.com, put it that way. The Ask the Insiders board is busier than it has ever been in our site's history. Yeah. So, if you are looking for some Buckeye fans to talk the game with tonight, game throughout on BuckeyeScoop.com on our Ask the Insiders board. You need to be a member. Go to BuckeyeScoop.com, sign up today, give it a month. I think the content on there on the game thread tonight may be worth it all by itself. Michael wants to know who's calling the game tonight. It should be Fowler and Herbstreit, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I don't know. Herbstreit was home for the Rose Bowl, right? Is that right? I think Herbstreit was not there in person for the Rose Bowl. Or no, he was not there in person for the Sugar Bowl, I believe. Pretty sure he called it from home. I don't know. I would assume he's back here now because that's been more than 10 days. I believe that was a COVID thing. Ruckert, Adam says, Ruckert 2 TDs pays 12 plus 1,200. That's
I'll throw $20 on that.
I mean, you literally just saw it last week, so that's worth keeping an eye on. I think that's if you're going to throw some prop bets down, that's not a bad one to do. Chad wants to know what's the over under. I think last time I saw it was about 75,
I think
76.
It's down to 75 now.
Yeah, I mean 75 is what? That's for 30. 38, 37, or
40,
something
35.
like that. 40, 35, something
42,
like that.
30,
Yeah. Yakov wants to know, what does the artificial crowd noise sound like in person? It's when you're in the press box, you almost don't hear it because it's just kind of this like murmur. When you're outside, I mean, I've been outside shooting the Big Ten, half of the Indiana game, Big Ten championship game, and the Sugar Bowl. And it's just kind of, you just kind of tune it out. Like it's not super loud. It's just kind of like a murmur. It's like if you've ever sat in like you're sitting in a convention or something and the speaker hasn't come on stage and there's just kind of that like murmur level and you don't hear individual voices. It's kind of like noise and you just can kind of tune it out. That's it. That's basically what it is. Spunky says, from a Spartan, good luck, fellas. We're not playing. We'll be okay. Oh, Vinay is late again. Shameful, Vinay. Shameful. Vinay will be in section 183 tonight. I don't know where 183 is. But we're in, Tony is in the press box, which is somewhere like under the ribbon boards. Like it'll be one of those things. I'm down in the end zone, be able to shoot
Vinay,
one
there
side.
is no 183.
And one side. Yeah, I'm not sure there is a section 183. We may have... yeah, it's 352 is as high as the highest the thing goes. So maybe he meant 138. Jay says, "How are you guys allowed in the stadium?"
We're here, baby.
Yeah, there you go.
We can go anywhere we want.
We
key to the city.
Normally they open the stadium up like 3-4 hours before the game. they said, yeah, we're opening the stadium at 10 a.m. It's like, well, we don't need to be there at 10 a.m. We got here real darn early.
Yeah.
We'll actually have a photo gallery of kind of a look around the stadium before, probably not long after we finish this live stream. We'll have that up on BuckeyeScoop.com, so you can keep a lookout for that. Jordan wants to know keys to the game. I mean,
Line of scrimmage.
trenches, and which skilled player has the best game.
Get to the quarterback.
Anthony says, have you seen any players? We were at OSU's hotel when they checked in, but they didn't go past us. They were kind of off to the side.
We did shoot a video that's on YouTube if you want to check it out.
You can find our YouTube account. You're on our YouTube account, youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop. When we're done, there's a video from Saturday night, and it has
on videos.
It'll be easy to find. It's got like 12,000 views because lots of people have watched it. So we were not right next to them, but you can definitely make out individual people coming in. When is the actual kickoff time? DK asks, is there a clock running in the stadium? The clock is not running in the stadium yet. They usually start that. It's like
99
minutes to kickoff. In our official media app for the game, they said it is 8:15 is listed as the kickoff time. So it's probably around there would be my guess. 8:15, 8:17, something like that. But as soon as they put that up, follow him. He's at Tony Gerdeman, TonyGerdeman on Twitter. I'm at Tom Orr4, TOMORR, the number 4. He'll have as soon as they put that thing up and start that clock running.
They'll probably start.
They'll start that clock, and then we'll be able to give you an exact countdown time to kickoff. Yakov wants to know if this is the last time we see Ruckert in an OSU jersey.
You've been saying that possibility since before the season.
I have thought if he has a big season, it's possible. He's looked pretty good. He's a pretty good all-around player.
I think he's had like 14 catches this year.
Well, he's had 14 catches, but he's also had a real big semifinal. If he has another 60, 50-yard touchdown, 2-touchdown kind of game.
Don't you tell him, when you come back, we will feature you more than we did. That's how you got to get these players and keep them. You got to tell them what they want to hear.
And the interesting thing there is you got a real deep wide receiver room next year. You're not running now. I think the argument you made there is you're probably losing Jake Hausman. Mm-hmm. You're definitely losing Luke Farrell.
Yep.
So he is the tight end next year. You're not probably using as much 12 personnel next year with 2 tight ends because you've got more wide receivers you're comfortable with next year probably. But if you're using 1 tight end, he's your tight end.
He's going to be playing a lot if he comes back.
He will be playing a lot, and the question
then won't just be blocking because they'll throw the ball a lot too.
And I have not started even thinking NFL draft yet. I don't have a clue what the tight end class looks like this year. I mean, Kyle Pitts is going to go probably first overall, so you're not the first tight end off the board. So
you think he's going to go ahead Trevor Lawrence?
First tight end off the board. Sam says he would like to see Jameson Williams catch a slant and show off his speed. I mean, he is one of those guys who we constantly hear Jameson Williams he's not the fastest guy on the team. The fastest guy on the team is Justin Fields. Jameson Williams is like in that top handful, maybe number 2. You get him in space. He has not had a ton of opportunities. Fields just hasn't targeted him that much. He's I think been targeted 12 times and has 8 catches or something like that. I mean, he's doing stuff with the ball when it's thrown his way. It's just doesn't get looked his way very often.
They could. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to one more this game against Clemson. They targeted the tight ends, started going to Jameson. He may have had 3 or 4 catches in that game.
Yeah.
Including the deep one. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's matched up against the worst outside corner and they attack him.
DK says, as Buckeye guy there. I have not seen Buckeye guy all season. Yeah. I don't know. I have not seen any of the super fans down here, but rest assured they're lurking somewhere.
Do you think, Tom, knowing that you have to wear a mask, do you bother dyeing the mustache and the goatee and all that?
I think everyone knows.
Yes.
Everyone knows that it's under there. I think you have a commitment to the bit. Jeremy says Sermon and the offensive line are peaking and meshing at the right point. I mean, it's hard to say that they're not. I mean, this is right about where Ezekiel Elliott was during the 2014 postseason, which is, that is a hot streak as a running back that I don't think we ever thought we would see again. And 331 and then 193 for Sermon. I mean, I think he had to have 230 or something like that in this game, 220 to match Ezekiel Elliott's, and that's not crazy. And if he does, then Ohio State wins this game.
Yes.
I mean, that's like, if you have that kind of hot streak, you can ride that kind of hot streak out of your running back, you're hitting some big plays, that's the kind of thing you can ride that dude to a national championship, and then he's your MVP.
And Ryan Day is finally giving into that, where we do have a running back that we can ride, so let's do it.
Nope, can't address that one. Petrania, we answered the unexpected hero, didn't we? We answered the unexpected hero.
I said Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, I think, is the your good answer. I said Ruckert. We mentioned Sean Wade as well. Jeremy says Josh Proctor will finally get a pick. He did have a pick in that Big Ten championship game. He had a near miss in that Big Ten championship game. He had a near miss against Clemson as well. He's there. He's in the right spot. It's just a matter of he has very consistently been in the right spot. It's just a matter of hauling that ball in. Joshua asked the question that I feel like we've been asked 1,000 times, and I'm still not sure we have the official answer. Do teams such as Ohio State and Alabama benefit from playing less games and rest, or playing more and finding that rhythm? And before the Clemson game, I think that was the question. And my opinion at that point was that Clemson benefited from having a full season, still being relatively healthy. They weren't super beat up. But Ohio State wanted to play more games. This is not like Ohio State rigged the system to only play 6 games. They really wanted to play more games this season and weren't able to. 2 of the games that got canceled were because the other team had COVID. Ohio State had one that the only one Ohio State canceled was at the very last minute because it was happening on Friday and they didn't want to put people on an airplane. You saw them the week after that against Michigan State, where they were down 20-something guys, including 3 starting offensive linemen and a whole bunch of guys. And they went on the road and played anyway because it was like they want to play. They knew they needed to play. I think Ohio State, if the difference between playing 10 games and 13 games probably isn't super huge. The difference between going into the playoff having played 6 games and 12 games, you can't tell me that you don't have more answers with 12. I think there's probably something there. I think had Ohio State played 9 like they were supposed to, I think they're fine. I don't think there's any kind of I don't think they lose anything by playing 9 as compared to 12. And I also think you probably don't have a whole lot of controversy about that either.
No, and I think what the great thing Ryan Day did is had them ready early. Like they shouldn't be ready by game 7 to play in the national championship or play in the semis, and they were. And you would think they're only going to get better. So imagine what they would do to Clemson in game 9 or game 10.
Yeah. And have a little more depth. That was the other thing, was there was a lot of unproven depth that was forced. Lathan Ransom, we saw as much Lathan Ransom in the college football playoff semifinal as we did basically the whole season up to that point. Like that is not when you want to be breaking someone new in. Jay says, hopes the players watch ESPN. They all predict Bama and say OSU has no chance. I think in 2015 there were 40 people on the ESPN list, and they all picked Alabama. Maybe one random dude picked Ohio State, ESPN Radio Des Moines or something like that, but it was all Alabama. So this would not be unprecedented.
138.
Andrew says, is Waddle playing? If he does, tackle him low. Ken may be able to answer that with more certainty in the comments, but it is 138. Vinay is kind of behind kind of in the corner down there.
Yeah. The Ohio State corner.
The Ohio, the question is, is Jalen Waddle playing? I think we may have had a little bit more of a firm answer. I think Alex Gleitman may have had a firm answer.
Oh, did he?
I think I saw that. I don't think I actually read it. It is, my assumption is no. My assumption is no, Jalen Waddle is not playing, or if he does, it's playing a very little bit. One of our Buckeye Scoop staffers may be able to give me the official answer in the comments here.
I think if he was playing, you wouldn't have talked about it, or you wouldn't have said it's a possibility.
Right. Yeah. There is a. I think there's a much more logical that they use him as a decoy, make Ohio State worry about him,
which Gary Combs said they would.
Which they would, and then they have wasted some time this week preparing for him, and he's not going to play. I think that's the most likely scenario. The man says, "What if Ohio State wins by 20 plus?" there is a way that happens. It's probably a couple turnovers from Mac Jones. Maybe they get one dimensional. Ohio State can run the ball. Yeah, I mean, Alabama tries a surprise onside kick and doesn't get it. Ohio State blocks a punt. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that can happen that's not like crazy.
And you tack a touchdown on at the end of a 14-point game, which is close to out.
Yeah. Jordan wants to know, he's still on hold waiting to talk to Ryan Day. Yes. Should you hang up and keep waiting? Just listen. Please enjoy the hold music. Rob H. wants to know the most surprising returnee and the most surprising player to declare.
I think the most surprising player to declare would be Jeremy Ruckert.
Yeah.
Most surprising returnee. How about Josh Myers?
Yeah, I would be surprised if Josh Myers returned.
Me too. That's what I'm saying.
He told us that we would know on the 12th. Tomorrow we will find out. My assumption is he's turning pro. I think that's probably I think it's very, very likely that he's turning pro. I would be surprised. But in terms of like plausible returnees, like Justin Fields ain't coming back.
No.
Like I'm deeply sorry to spoil that surprise for you, but Justin Fields is not coming back.
Chris Olave?
I don't think Chris Olave is coming. I think Josh Myers is a good answer there. Yes, Ben says, do you think Fields returns? For the second half, yes. James says, what time do they come out to warm up? That's about 2 hours before the game. So
an hour from now?
Yeah, about an hour from now, give or take. Jackson is hearing Fields suffered a hip pointer, not bruised ribs. I mean, that was not where he got hit. I had a picture of basically the moment of impact, and it was right in the ribs. So that's I would be surprised if that was a hip pointer. But Yakov says, is there a rule that the officiating crew must be from a Power 5 conference? Why not placate the group of 5 and at least let them officiate? I mean,
do you think that would?
I'm
not going to shut UCF up.
Well, I don't think Sunbelt's officials are. I don't think Sunbelt officials are necessarily used to the pace of play.
Yeah.
And the size and speed and
Television
quickness of the Power
timeouts.
5. I mean, there's just it's going to be a Power 5 group, and it is Big 12 officials tonight. Yes, Eric, I did say Fields is the fastest man on offense. That was one of our Buckeye Scoop insider reports. Yes, he smoked everyone the last time they tested, as one of our insiders just said. Cincinnati over Notre Dame for the 4 spot. Nick asked that. I said this is the year to do it. Like,
yeah.
there are 3 teams, so go ahead. Someone's going to get murdered by Alabama. You might as well have put Cincinnati in. I mean, it was extremely obvious what was going to happen in Notre Dame in that game.
Just 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. And
Just 1, 2.
Now they're testing the PA in here, so we may have some loud noises every once in a while. But yeah, that seems so logical. Like, Cincinnati was extremely deserving as Notre Dame. You knew it was going to happen to whoever was playing Alabama.
Action. Shop from the convenience of your suite or seat using your phone or tablet. Have product delivered to your suite or pick it up at the CFP Championship Shop. Pickup areas are located at the main CFP Championship Shop and by section 146.
So here's an interesting little thing walking around the stadium. What announced? I don't know if you can make it out, but you can do all your stuff by phone because they don't want people standing online at the concession stands. So that's you can do a lot of your stuff by phone and then have it delivered to your seat, or go to the and just go to the store and show, hey, I bought this, and they'll have it waiting for you. Big 12 refs, as people said. Michael says, more nerves for this game or the Clemson game? I mean, we don't have nerves, but I mean that's more of a question for you guys. That's more of a question for you guys than us. But I think that Ohio State has, in a lot of ways, proven what they needed to prove this year. They obviously, winning a national championship is exactly what they want to do. That is the ultimate goal for this team. That has been the ultimate goal of this team all year. But they have. No one is going to be able to say Ohio State didn't belong. So that issue has been resolved.
I think everybody knows about Ohio State now. Ryan Day knows about his team. Players know about each other, and so the nerves. I think there's still a little bit of mystery, maybe even amongst the team last time out against Clemson. Now there's no mystery. Now it's just let's play and see.
Yakov wants to know the area outside the stadium. What is it like? Anything besides parking? There's a parking lot like all the way around the stadium, but it's interesting. There's like rows of pavement. And then there's grass where you actually park, and they just paint on the grass the stripes for the parking spots. Outside of that, there's just a bunch of like strip malls and crap, not that far from here. it's really not that built up. This stadium has been here for 30-something years. What on earth was this place like? This must have been like the surface of Mars, like the surface of the moon out here, like nothing outside around this stadium 30 years ago. Let's see, a million people asking us for our score predictions, which we gave. I picked Alabama 38-35. Tony picked
37-35
Alabama
Alabama.
37-35. Yakov says, do you think Fox Sports asked for a refund being that 3 OSU games canceled?
Man.
That's a good question for our insider who's in the chat. He may have a little more insight on that. But
There should be a refund for not getting that Michigan game, which was the #1 overall draft pick of sports.
yeah, that's Rightful One says Urban to Jacksonville. I don't know if that's a done deal yet. It sounds like it's about to happen, but there goes his theory that OSU, Day, and Urban all planned it out so that Day will be here for about 5 years, go to the NFL, and Urban's going to come back and coach. I know Ryan Day is, I know Urban Meyer is one of the best coaches of all time. I think you would rather have the 40-year-old who looks like he's going to be able to keep things rolling just as well as Urban Meyer had them rolling. Like, that's not bad. Okay, Jerry D says Lou Holtz picked OSU in 2015. That's kind of his bit. He sat next to Mark May, and Mark May already... Mark May always...
the jester does the joking.
Yes, Waddle is only a smoke screen. So that's, I think, there is your official answer. No, you cannot rush the field. They will be... They're going to be extremely not amused if you rush the field. Don't do that. How many turnovers are you predicting for this game?
Over under, Tom, is I'm 2.5 or 3.5. I can't decide. I'll go 2.5 total turnovers.
Yeah, I'd probably go over that.
Would you go over 3.5?
Maybe. I'd think about it. This is not the game stream. This is we're just doing a pregame show. The game will be off. The game will not be broadcast here. You'll have to watch it on ESPN.
Yes, this is not a pirate streaming service.
Sadly, no.
Not yet.
With the Orange Bowl hosting so many big games, do you think Miami should have a better, more updated stadium? The stadium's fine. The stadium's not bad. I don't prefer this in. It is not going to rain. We just looked. It is not going to rain. People keeps asking. It is not going to rain.
Still,
according to the forecast. It is a. The stadium's fine. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else you need.
Yeah, like I said, there's no bad views here.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
You're not 1,000 miles away from.
Right. It's not a huge
field.
stadium. It's an NFL stadium. Like, they're all kind of the same.
Exactly.
I prefer the fact that it's outside. So, any thoughts on the Harbaugh extension, Tony?
Man, we've already gone over an hour at this point. I think it's great for America. I think it's great for college football. I think it's great for Jim Harbaugh. I think it's great for Michigan State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do think it's going to increase. I hope it increases Jim Harbaugh's energy, and that he also brings in some coaches who have energy and help him develop players. But I don't think Ohio State fans should be like, oh no.
Yeah. Jack says if someone can get 2 defensive stops in a row, I feel like that team has a good chance of winning this game. That's probably about right. I mean, this does feel a little bit like a break serve kind of game. Can you, everyone's going to keep serving. That was the Alabama Ole Miss game. Touchdown, 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 and then once Alabama stopped Ole Miss once, it was like, okay, now the game's over because there's no chances to Alabama's not getting scored a touchdown. So. Ronald says Sermon 225 yards, Fields 125 yards rushing.
Ohio State wins.
350 yards rushing between the two of them. How much does Ohio State win by?
21, 14?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Is there any wind? Michael wants to know. No, there is. The flags on the goalposts are just like laying there. You see the roof up here? It goes like all the way around the field. And you can see the sky through there, but I think it helps keep the wind out of here. You don't have the wind just coming right over the lip of the stadium. I think it helps keep the wind out of there a little bit. It is it is not windy in here at all. Yes, is that the top of the dome or is it cloudy here? No, it is cloudy, but we're not expecting any rain. Buckeyes are wearing white. Combs confetti angels, only if they win. When a roster is released, about 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, is Marcus Crowley active? He was active for the Sugar Bowl. I anticipate him being active again. Let's see. Waddle not playing. Yes, we anticipate Waddle is a smoke screen and not actually going to do it. Over under 250 rush yards by Trey Sermon. Boy, if they're anywhere close,
under.
I'm going to go under that one. Yes. Yakov wants to know, will the 2021 Ohio State Michigan game rescheduled to be in Columbus? I think the answer is no.
Right. Too many logistical changes to start changing all of that stuff.
It is
at
not.
this point.
Dilly says that's a brand new stadium. It is definitely not a brand new stadium. This was Joe Robbie Stadium 30 years ago. They've renovated it, but it's not a brand new stadium. Like, it's nice, but it's not brand new. Is Marcus Hooker playing? I mean, I think
As far as we know.
as far as we know. I don't think it is a contracting roof if it rains, is it? I don't see any indication that there's maybe it is. I don't know. I don't see any indication.
I don't know.
I don't see any indication up there that the roof can close, but I might be wrong.
Maybe just get some blue tarp with some nails.
Sam says he doesn't like how much I'm coughing. I'm wearing a mask. It's hot. It's humid, and yeah, sorry. And I've been talking for like 4 hours today, so
Yes,
my
it's
throat's
been
a
a
little
lot.
scratchy. Yeah,
And have had no water.
I'm doing
Since,
just fine. Did Iowa play in a bowl game this year? No, they were supposed to play in the something or other and got canceled. They got a COVID. Yakov says it's safe to say neither of us will sleep until tomorrow night. We're going to be.
No.
That's it. We have defeated the listeners. We are through all our questions. Thank you. No more questions. We will, after the game, we'll be back on here, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Hit the subscribe button right now. That is going to be your best bet to have a notification pop up, because it's usually like after these games, by the time they do the trophy presentation, they do the post-game press conference, all of that stuff. By the time they do get through all that stuff, we get some photos up, an article up, get outside or wherever we're going to do the post-game. I don't know if we're doing this inside or outside. We got to figure out
the rain at 3 a.m.
we got to figure out all of that stuff. But whenever we do, last week it was about 2 a.m. Eastern, give or take, that we were on. But if you hit that subscribe button on youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop, you will get a pop-up notification when we go live. Then you'll be able to join us at the post game. Those are always a lot of fun because there's so much to talk about. We're not speculating. We're not.
Right. We can actually say stuff.
We've spent all week talking about this game. It'll be so exciting to actually see it and see, because I think this is a really legitimately interesting game where, sometimes you come in and it's like the Alabama Notre Dame game on January 1st. It was like I knew exactly what was going to happen. Clemson, Ohio State, I felt like I didn't really know what was going to happen. I feel like I don't really know what's going to happen here. Like, this is not a game where the result is preordained.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of interesting stories to watch. Who's playing, who's not playing, who's how do the teams adjust to guys who are in or out. I mean, both teams have guys who are big name guys who are sort of up in the air a little
Stories
bit
are
right now.
going to happen.
Plenty of stories are going to happen. It's going to be a really, really fascinating game. So we'll have a ton of stuff to talk about in terms of the game. We'll be on those post-game press conferences. We'll be able to kind of give you what we heard, what we learned during those as well, and then we'll have a whole bunch of stuff after our own observations, and then we will answer questions just like we did here as well. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. So make sure you about the end of the middle of fourth quarter, maybe switch to coffee, and make sure you subscribe to the Buckeye Scoop
Irish
YouTube
it
channel.
up if you want.
There you go. That's fine. Just want that. You want that caffeine to get you through to the 2:30 a.m. ish time. People asking. I've had a couple people ask about how many viewers this game will have. I don't have a clue on that, because these are two teams that are normally huge TV draws, but TV ratings have been down. I think everyone's just tired of looking at screens, so we'll see. I think if it's a competitive game, I think this is going to be right up there with the most watched, though. So that'll do it. Thank you guys all for joining us. Appreciate your great questions, great interaction. We will have hop on over to Buckeye Scoop in just a little bit. We will. I'll have a pregame photo gallery looking around the stadium, just kind of give you a sense of what it's like in here. So we'll do that. Tony will have the availability report coming up at 7 o'clock p.m.
On the dot.
On the dot, thereabouts. 7 o'clock p.m.
On the dot.
Look for that on the dot. Okay. 7 o'clock p.m. Ohio State
BuckeyeScoop.com.
Ability Report on BuckeyeScoop.com, as well as, So who is out? Who isn't out? What does Ohio State do about it? That's at BuckeyesCoop.com. Sign up, become a member. The game thread there is going to be incredible. If you don't have Ohio State fans to talk to throughout the game, that's going to be a great place to be. Great community. Basically the equivalent of sitting at your neighborhood bar and being able to talk to the guys around you about the game, what you're seeing. People who really know what they're talking about. So sign up at BuckeyesCoop.com. Subscribe at YouTube.com/BuckeyesScoop. And I think that's it. I think we're done. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you after the game.